Kia ora and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Taupō District Council chambers this afternoon for our annual or our monthly meeting, April meeting. Good afternoon, Deputy Mayor and councillors, members of the staff, members of the public, members of the press. Good to see you all on this beautiful Taupō day this afternoon. Okay, could I ask the Deputy Mayor's offered to do the karakia this afternoon, so could all stand, please.
Kuia ki te Māori o te whenua, kuia ki te mana o te tangata, kuia ki te pono te aroha, kia piki, kia eke, ki te taumata, huie,
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Item number 2 is apologies, and I believe we have 2. Councillor Kirsty Truman and Karen's online. Kylie Leonard, sorry. Yeah. So can I have a mover for those? Thank you, Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor Lachlan. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Now, item number 3 is conflicts of interest. Any conflicts of interest pertaining to the items today? No? All right, we will carry on. Confirmation of minutes, 4.1, extraordinary council meeting on the 19th of March, 2024. Do we have any points of clarification on those minutes? No? Good. I have a mover, please. Thank you, Councillor Shepherd, seconded by Councillor Greenslade. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. 4.2, ordinary council meeting, which was held on the 26th of March, 2024. Any clarification of those minutes? No? This will be very accurately recorded. In favour of move, thank you, Councillor Lachlan, seconded by Councillor Park. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Item 4.3, extraordinary council meeting, which was held on the 16th of April, 2024. Any points of clarification of those minutes? Can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Greenslade, seconded by Councillor Westerman. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Okay, item 5.1, setting the 24-25 rates late agenda. Good afternoon, Sarah Matthews. Good afternoon, Sarah.
Good afternoon. Tony is on leave, so I am presenting this on her behalf, but obviously know a fair amount about this topic. This topic comes about as part of the decision in March to proceed with the long-term plan but accept delayed adoption, which is still within statutory deadlines, I may note, given the statutory deadlines have increased this year. But I guess we've presented 2 options for you, and I just did want to quickly note, I'll take the paper fundamentally as read, but obviously neither option was 100% ideal given the rate, the late setting of the rates post long-term plan. But we do believe option 1 was the least confusing for the community. It does come at a higher cost, but we have built that into our long-term plan. And I just did want to note that there were further options on, we could have done 2 instalments, for example, but again, we only really analysed that one, which was keeping the instalments the same, but happy to discuss that as well if anyone has any comments on that. So.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, questions? Councillor Park.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah, and just, sorry, through the chair, I noticed that this has been a really tough decision and discussion for us all to have, because we all know that the cost of living is quite out the gate at the moment, and to sort of ask people to hold on to some money that they might usually pay in August to then just to set aside can be quite difficult when you've got your kids might need shoes, or you might like to treat yourself to a roast on a Sunday or something. So it's just a matter of communicating how it, unfortunately, it's not a free, but while a legal obligation that with rates not being struck, that we can't ask people to pay rates for something that we haven't decided on yet. So I know it's a really tough call and hard to sell to the community, but I just hope that in some way we can find a way through that. Just hold your middle and keep your rates instalment. But those who are on APs can still continually pay that, can't they? So there's no actual danger of falling behind if your budget, weekly budget or monthly budget or quarterly budget depends on that.
Yes, absolutely, and we will be encouraging payment. I think we did talk about the comms plan to, enable as much normality to this process as possible for the community, and not only for the community but for council's cash flow as well, because obviously it does cost us not having the money in the bank, and we have recognised that in this paper. So.
That's the green slate.
Thank you, Sarah. We have talked about this quite a bit. I do have to say that option 2 looks more appealing to me than option 1, because at least you are collecting some rates and the adjustment will be on instalments 2, 3 and 4, whereas in option 1 there's no rates, and that's going to be a much larger amount of money. And we all know that ratepayers, we're all guilty of this, don't necessarily read everything that comes out of council. And I'm very, very concerned that we're going to get a backlash in terms of, you said that our increase was going to be X percentage, and when they work it out, they find it's going to be a massive percentage, and we're going to have the inundated telephone calls on the day that rates come out, and you're nodding. So why would we not choose option 2 and at least get some money through the door?
Yeah, that's a fair question, and when considering these options, as I said, they were both had their disadvantages. Both came with substantial costs. One probably more internal focus, so doing 2 rate strikes. Obviously, that's not a normal process councils do, and there's a fair amount of administration in that, because essentially you've got to reverse what you've done, and people have already paid it, and then recalculate. So it's quite complicated to do that way. But the key thing really for us was the messages. If we did that, first of all, the messages to the community would be different. So some people wouldn't get a bill at all. Some people would get the 25%, and we also can't collect penalties, and so we can't enforce collection on that. People can't file their rates rebates based on the interim rates bill. So it's going to cause, we thought, more confusion than the delay in keeping the other 3 instalments as per normal. Again, it was more around trying to keep as much normality as possible. But yeah, neither option was probably massively different in cost, and I think it did describe that in the financial section, that the administration burden and the we would have to get a lot of support from our system provider to run 2 rate strikes, because it's not a normal thing councils do.
Just following on from that, Sarah, do you know what sort of percentage of our ratepayers are on APs at present, monthly APs?
I can come back to you. I'm sure it was in the paper, and sorry, it's been a while. 50%,
is it? Okay, because I must admit, and I don't think it's insider trading, but I've actually changed mine to the monthly, having listened to the discussion that's gone on here, because it's going to be much smoother for people across the district. So I've moved away from the quarterly one myself, because I don't want to have a big wake-up call either.
So that's the good thing. We definitely will. So obviously, based on the draft long-term plan, we will be able to tell people this is what's in the draft, and this is what your property, the forecast increases. If you want to pay that, we certainly would encourage it. And same as you go on automatic payment. Olivia, Laurelie and the comms team will definitely have some work to do in the community to encourage that, because the last thing we want to do is put more strain on the community and people that are struggling at an already challenging time. And as you say, it will cause confusion. Absolutely no doubt, either way will cause confusion. But again, we were trying to keep it as normal as we can, given this is not an overly normal situation.
Thank you, Sarah.
Councillor Shepherd.
I know that if we went with option 2, there's a lot of admin, there's a lot of wash up, there's all of those sorts of things. But if we're encouraging ratepayers to continue to pay in the unknown space, there's going to be a wash up anyway, isn't there?
Yes.
So does that not?
Yes.
One half does the other?
Yeah, well, kind of, except like I said, there's the 2 rate strikes, and that being done in the system, you actually there's a lot of manual calculation, and I think the team are quite concerned about that. But I think giving one example, and this is just one example of the sort of things that the rates team deal with. You've got So property sales, for example, instead of going back and saying, actually, we can't give you that, we would say, hey, this is an interim, but when we get the final bill, we'll have to do some sort of wash up in the calculation. And so it's a lot more, you know, a lot more administration going back and forward with solicitors and stuff just for that process.
Yes, so my next point is that we're going to have to get the comms out to solicitors because they can't prepare these settlement statements accurately either. So
they're going to
comms is going to be quite vital. Yeah. It's there's no good outcome really, is there? We're choosing between the least the least offensive option effectively. Thank you.
Councillor Williamson.
Yes, through you. Thank you. I'm just supporting Rachel's comments and supporting Sarah's commentary as well. So many fish hooks there in terms of confusion with the community, in terms of administration. Right here, but I think obviously more to support the confusion in the community. It's going to be hard comms for living in a team be up there. So either way, it's going to be still a hard conversation. But thank you for all the work you're doing anyway.
Councillor Lachlan.
So I've had the time to consider, and I'm happy to support option one on the basis that we are going to do this comms work, encourage people to want to be able to make a voluntary payment. But yeah, I was quite surprised. I was talking to my sister this morning, and she's on the weekly one, and I said, "Oh,
Weekly.
yeah."
I pay weekly. I pay.
Certainly, hopefully that comms we could look at a monthly, encourage that sort of monthly thing, and that make things a lot easier. But yeah, these will just be effectively voluntary payments, and there'll be a wash up through the system with the struck rate. So, but yeah, really, Your Worship, I'm happy to do this.
Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, yes. My natural assumption before we even start discussing this would have been option two and gets the money in. But from the sounds of it, there's more push hooks on that than the other option. So I sort of accept that. Just a question though, all things going to plan, when will people find out what their total rates are going to be?
Yes, so right up until after adoption of the long-term plan, we obviously won't have a final amount for them, but we certainly release the rating database earlier than that with our draft long-term plan, so people can have a look. So people can have a look at what's in the draft. But as you know, through hearings and submissions, you're likely to be some changes in the long-term plan. So we can release the drafts of what you will approve for consultation. We can give them this is what your property rates are likely to look at, but we can't finalise those until you've adopted the long-term plan.
So a date like in terms of the draft rates for when could people be expect to even see that?
So it would be when they receive the actual rates bill, but they will have access, and the team will have access to the database based on the draft long-term plan. So what you adopt for consultation, we can give them indicative figures, but obviously until you adopt the long-term plan, they aren't final.
Oh, so people have to specifically request them rather than.
No, you can go in and type your address in like all of our planning. Consultations.
And just a question, like I hear about these weekly and monthly options. Does that mean, well, people won't be able to start doing that until if we adopt option one, people won't be able to start doing their weekly or monthlies until the first. No?
You can say anytime. So you could. I think the team are going to come up with a plan on what's best, but you could base it on the draft, or you could base it on last year and at least pay something towards it. You know, the weekly and monthly, they're voluntary, so people can kind of yeah. So and just so you know, in those numbers, we've made assumptions of how many people we'll get, and that's probably just me highlighting that to you. If for some reason not as many as we've assumed come in, obviously the interest cost is going to be higher. If we get more, obviously the interest cost will be lower. So we've had to make some high-level assumptions, given we've never undertaken this before, to come up with what the cost will be. So just probably alluding you to that as well. If I come back, that's because I've made my best guess at this time.
Councillor Shepherd.
Yeah, I just picked up on the point that, estimates will be available based on the draft LTP consultation document. So I presume that'll be made really clear that it's it's not an end result. It's not, don't take it as gospel. It's still subject to change, because that'll just add to the confusion, I feel.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Councillor Lachlan, I believe you moved it, yeah? With the option A? One, I mean, sorry? Yep. Sorry.
Oh, no, I see the resolution.
Oh, the resolution. Is one, thank you. Okay, the resolution is there. Do we have to, we mentioned? All right, there it is up there. Moved by Councillor Lachlan, seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thanks, Sarah.
Sorry, Sarah, just a quick question. Sorry, I should have asked it before. It doesn't need to define the fact that this is only for that particular year. It says that in the year.
Yeah,
On the-
it says the year 24-25 there. No, it is absolutely for 1 year only, and we will be reverting to our normal process post that. Yeah.
Thanks, Sarah. 5.2, appointment of local controllers.
Good afternoon. So just providing an update on the appointment of local controllers. As the paper says, the Civil Defence Emergency Management Act 2002 requires territorial local authorities to nominate and appoint one or more local controllers. And the Waikato Group Fuller policy also requires us to advise local elected members on who Taupō District Council's local controllers are. And I'm pleased to advise that on the 25th of March meeting of the Waikato Civil Defence Emergency Management Joint Committee meeting, they appointed Steve Giles as a local controller. That's it.
Thanks, Sally. Sorry, and it might be, is it your first time in front of council?
No, it might have been my third.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Okay, welcome. Nice to see you. Sorry, I properly introduced you at the start. Any questions of Haley? Any opposition to Mr. Steve Giles? Yes, he got the time. Yeah, Councillor Park.
Through the chair, this is just to receive the information. I didn't get to at group level because of a perceived conflict of interest. So I'd like to move that we receive this information at a local level today.
Cool. Very good. And do I have a second? Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. No other commentary. Okay, all those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Very good. Thank you very much, Ali. 5.3 is funding application to the New Zealand Communities Trust for Delaney Park. Brian, good afternoon, Brian. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Thank you all for your time today. As you've read in the agenda item, we're coming to gain approval from you that we can submit a funding application to New Zealand Communities Trust for the Delaney Park redevelopment, first phase, sort of the lighting and amenities project. So we came to you last month as well, and just as a reminder to let you know that was for a different project, but this is something that's required to support all our applications as a resolution from you as council. So yeah, the purpose of this application will be to apply for funding to support the first phase of the project that includes upgrading stadium lighting and amenities as well. The application complements the 4.93 million that was secured from central government's Better Off Fund and 3.54 million that was allocated through the annual plan. I'll take the rest of the paper as read and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Brian. Good to see you. Were we successful with that last application?
We haven't heard back.
Haven't heard back yet. Okay. Councillor Park.
Brian, thank you. And I love all this work that's going on behind the scenes. Is that the maximum we could ask for?
With that particular funder, that's what we've been advised.
That's all right. I just hope that we're going. It's better to ask for up here and get that than to ask for that. And get that.
So we're asking all of our funders what the maximum is that we can apply for. NZCT are only a small funder in our community, but there are other ones where we're planning to.
That's right. As long as we're taking advantage of what's available. Thank you.
Councillor Shepherd.
I just want to say thank you, Brian, for looking into this. As you know, I've been kind of pushing for some third-party funding options to alleviate some rates pressure, and you're really coming through. So thank you for that. And when we're ready, I'd be happy to move.
Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. No other questions of Brian? No, just endorse those comments, Brian. You're obviously seeking out these funders and you're chasing them, which is exactly part of your role, which is fantastic. So very good. Been moved by Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Shepherd.
That was moved.
Oh,
I
sorry,
moved it.
the other way
I'm
around.
happy to second it though. Yeah.
Moved by Councillor Shepherd. Yeah, seconded Councillor Park. Yeah. Oh, no other questions of Brian? All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thanks, Brian. Right, moving on in. 5.4, Waikato Regional Council draft accord for biodiversity strategy. Here we go. Hi.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I'll take the paper as read, but I will just give a brief outline. So we obviously all know the importance of a healthy environment and ecosystem, and that's why Waikato Regional Council are wanting to begin drafting a biodiversity strategy to address biodiversity loss in the region. In preparation of the strategy, they want to draft an accord, and that acknowledges that this project is a collaborative approach. They've requested that we're one of the 11 signatory parties for the accord. So what that means for us as a council, by signing the accord, we show our support and commitment to working with Waikato Regional Council to develop this strategy. It will require about 2 years of staff time to attend meetings, generate ideas, and review drafts. We do not know what actions will be in the strategy as it has not been drafted yet, but once those are drafted, we will have our input. This will also be where costs and constraints are discussed surrounding those actions. The accord is funded through the Waikato Regional Council long-term plan, and the final draft accord will hopefully be adopted at the end of June 2024. The recommended option I've put forward to you today is that Taupō District Council agree to signing this accord to support Waikato Regional Council in addressing biodiversity loss in the region.
Very good. Thank you, Hayden. Any questions? Councillor Lachlan.
I'm going to vote against it. I'm not too happy with how council regional council sort of manages the stuff around free rights, things like that. So we've got a letter from our minister basically putting a pause on this work stream for that sort of reason. So that's my view. So whether it be European farms or Māori trusts and corporations, SNA type stuff has been something that iwi has strongly opposed for quite a while now, and we're very pleased when the new government put a pause on this, and so yeah, I'll be voting against.
Thank you, Councillor Lachlan. Any other? Councillor Campbell.
Oh, yeah, just a question for you. I mean, the point of this accord is to actually achieve something. So in terms of this district, biodiversity, what are some of the more positive outcomes that might be achieved by signing up to this? I mean,
yeah, so signing the accord is just saying that we're giving our commitment to beginning the strategy. The strategy is not being drafted yet, so it's just simply us showing support, and in terms of our resources, I don't believe it would actually require us to give much at the beginning.
Oh no, I mean, practically speaking, like the annual pests and weeds, land development, Gold Clam, this might help come up with a more positive strategy rather than ad hoc. It seems to be now. For example, are there more prominent issues, do you think, for this district than others? What's the number one, in your opinion, that this might help?
Number one would be our lake and our waterways and farm runoff, and that would be that would be the biggest focus in our district, I would believe personally. I mean, I have not spoken with regional council about that, but yeah, that would be the target for us.
Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Worship. Look, I have some sympathy for point of view that Councillor Lachlan has expressed, and I've had some reservations for some time around SNAs and the way that has evolved and been put into practice. However, I'm going to vote for it for the same reasons that Councillor Lachlan has expressed, but for my point of view, I think it's better to be in the tent and be part of creating and shaping the strategy than being on the outside throwing stones, metaphorically speaking. So that would be my point of view on this one.
Councillor Shepherd.
Yeah, ditto. Yeah, it is basically what I was about to say. I mean, we talked before about how hard it is to be heard at regional level. We want more emphasis down at this end of the district, of the region. But I do feel that it's very hard to be heard at that level without a voice at the table. So on that basis, I'll vote for.
Thanks, Councillor Park. There you go.
Oh, thank you, Richard. Yeah, I agree with the deputy mayor that for the reasons that Danny is voting against is why I want to vote for, although I do understand the complexities and the frustrations around those issues. Given that Waikato Regional Council weren't interested in continuing the statutory nature of the Lake Taupō Protection Trust, and given that biodiversity and water quality seem to be at top of mind now with their LTP, I think, like the deputy mayor, I'd rather be in the tent than outside the tent. So I'll be supporting.
Thank you, Councillor Park. Councillor Williamson and then Councillor Westman.
Yeah. Thank you. Through the chair, obviously, I've had some involvement with the following on Councillor Park's comments around the Lake Protection Project, but also we also used to have a Waikato Regional Council used to have integrated management committee involved up in Waikato. They banned that political reasons about 4 years ago. So District Council always been interested in biodiversity and environmental space. So I do sympathise with Andy, but also I will be voting for it because I need to say, as I said, we need to be in the team as well. Make a difference.
Thank you, Councillor Williamson. Councillor Westerman.
Yeah, look, I've read through it and, quite frankly, I just think, isn't this their job? I can't quite understand why they need to get another group of people to do what they should be doing anyway, and they are charging for it. I would have just expected that to be part of their job description.
Cool. Councillor Campbell.
Well, just a question for Councillor Lachlan. In terms of the reasons you oppose, what disadvantages do you think there are in us signing up to this accord?
Maybe to answer that. Yes, certainly the SNAs is the big one.
SNAs.
Significant natural areas. Yeah. So you've had a scenario where basically restrictions are put on private property interests and affecting their ability to do their business. And my perception, for want of a better word, is regional councils a little bit too happy to use a sledgehammer to crack a nut on it. And just the feel of this is it's kind of like trying to sign us up before the government brings in some new rules to basically say you don't need to have those sorts of impacts. So that's my concern. I mean, we're the ones that are going to have to front up if ultimately the strategy then says we're going to put more SNAs on these, and we're going to say, well, why did Taupō District Council sign up to that? I think if we had considered putting in some stronger principles in terms of those sorts of things in this document, then I possibly could have supported it. But without that, we just got to talk to you. That just sends a clear message that they're still going to do the same sort of behaviour. So yeah,
Okay. Councillor Greenslade.
Thank you, Richard. I'm sort of with Councillor Lachlan on this one. The SNAs have been put aside. That's going to have an effect across not here, just but all of New Zealand. And it sort of seems that this has come out of left field, I think. How long have we had this? When did we get this approach?
end of last year.
Oh, okay, so we've had it for a while, so, okay, so it's a very conflicted space at this time. And listening to what Councillor Lachlan has said, and again, what Councillor Westerman has said, yeah, it's sort of their job, Waikato Regional Council, and you do have to wonder why they need 11 people to be signing up for them to be doing their job. There are other things that we would quite like Waikato Regional Council to look at, and we've got a submission going to them currently to their long-term plan. I'm very ambivalent about it, would be my reply.
Okay, any other commentary? Right,
Through the chair, yeah, just listening to this, I'm kind of ambivalent myself, to be honest.
Just a question for my own peace of mind. I'm of the understanding that no parameters have been set from what you've said, so none of this has been agreed to, and I'd much rather be there to say, actually, this is what we prefer, so I'm surprised you're not in that camp, Councillor Lachlan.
I'm going to go on the experience, and as landowners, it's an area in this area that have got things put on our properties that impact our rights, whether it be private property rights, rights as iwi, whatever rights you want to talk about. We as an iwi have been totally opposed to that, and our farming fraternity too has been too happy about that, and that's why this government's saying we need to put a pause on this. That's why they campaign. So I don't want us as regional council going down, we're just going to keep doing this, years, and there's nothing in this document that suggests any other, otherwise. We'll just talk to you. I mean, I'm not clear from this paper which iwi or councils have signed up to it so far. That might have been useful. Certainly, I don't think we have. Yeah, I'm literally was on a boat a few weeks ago with the minister, and yeah, that was in terms of conservation. So, I mean, that's my view. I can only base it around experience and upset landowners are in our district. And I don't want to be signing something that gives regional council some sort of carte blanche. Go do all these things. And that's just my view.
Yeah. Councillor Taylor.
In listening to the debate, I'm full of the same opinion. And if I read from page 39 of the agenda, ensuring treaty partners, whānau, hapū, iwi and Māori organisations are recognised as leaders and are central to the biodiversity system. If we stay out of the tent, we don't get an opportunity to present a contrary view, assuming that the view we have may be contrary. We don't know that. We may actually be in accord with all the other councils whose expressed here today have been. I'm still of the opinion that we need to be there and we need to exert influence from inside.
Mother, are you happy to move a suggested recommendation?
I'm happy to move.
Yes. Yes, Councillor Greenslade.
So who are the 11 signatories? That's not the people on page 39, because that's more than 11. Do we know who the 11 signatories are at this point?
So the signatories are identified in the accord. Those were just the options, I believe, of who they've sent the draft accord to. Those are not signatory partners currently.
Right. So we haven't identified who the 11
No, not as of yet.
Okay. So Councillor Lachlan, are you saying that it's unlikely that some of these will be signing?
Well, we don't know. I was curious who has signed to date. That was all. We had that.
We can always pull out. Okay. We moved by Councillor Taylor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Shepherd. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. So we'd like that recorded.
I'm abstaining. Sorry.
Abstain, one abstention. Councillor Campbell. Against is Lachlan, Greenslade and Westerman.
Oh,
Oh.
Campbell abstained.
Karen. Councillor Fletcher, the Karam.
Yep. Yeah, I have a tendency to agree with the Deputy Mayor on this one. I'd rather be in the conversation than not in the conversation, so that's what I'll be voting for today.
Thank you, Councillor Fletcher. The recommendation is carried. Right. Item number 5.5, adoption of submission on Waikato Regional Council's long-term plan. We have Mr. Andrew Wilson. Good afternoon, Andrew.
Thank you, Worship and Councillors. I will take the item as read. However, I'll just give a brief recap. We had a workshop the other week on this particular submission, and you all gave some very strong feedback. And we've then subsequently gone away and made some changes, and I hope that those changes reflect your wishes, in particular around the protection of Lake Taupō from spills and the response to those spills. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Questions? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Worship. Andrew, thank you for this. I just want to acknowledge the workshop that we've had, and the history to this submission is not just been presented to us today. I also want to thank both yourself and the staff and your team for reflecting our, how do I put it, robust pushback. In the words we've got here, I'm happy that that reflects the conversation we had previously, and this is an accurate reflection of our position.
Questions, Councillor Shepherd?
Yep, I second that as well. And given what we've just discussed and the accord discussion we just had, I think a strongly worded submission like this is going to give a very good indication of where we sit on some of these topics when it comes to the accord. So thank you.
Councillor Campbell?
Yeah, I appreciate the submission, and I appreciate that spill protection is Waikato Regional Council responsibility. But unfortunately, it's us here who suffer the consequences if the tanker goes in. And we have had any numbers of warnings past year to indicate that it's kind of a matter of time before it happens. I mean, one tanker going in is not the Exxon Valdez disaster sort of thing. But yeah, I haven't seen any decent evidence that environmental and economic consequences, if that did happen, have actually been evaluated much. The consequences of a tanker load of diesel going in and not being contained within a reasonable time. So obviously, you know, I've started some conversations with Mercury and Genesis because they have some spill equipment themselves each end of the lake, and I'm hoping, I haven't got very far with the conversation, just I'm hoping they would be willing to volunteer their equipment and staff until the Waikato Regional Council at least gets its act in gear.
Bring a submission to Waikato Regional Council here, and there's a request we're making of them. Now, Andrew, do you want someone to present this submission? Have we already decided that?
No one has decided who is going to present the submission, if anyone, to WRC. So if your worship or Deputy Mayor or whoever else would like to speak to that submission, yeah. I'm sure our team is more than happy to support that as well.
I thought you were already offered, actually. Okay, any other questions of Andrew? Yep, Councillor Greenslade.
I just want to acknowledge the amount of work, as the Deputy Mayor has said, particularly in the area of the erosion control, which pretty much has started about this time last year, and has been an ongoing issue for particularly the southern area of the lake. I know other areas as well too, but particularly in the southern area of the lake. And I just want to acknowledge the comments that you've made, point 9, we would like to see WRC align their 45% share of these total costs with the expected program of works. We had some meetings with them and talked about the works and so forth. And this encouragement is very, very welcome.
Very much, Councillor Greenslade. Councillor Park.
Like to move the recommendation, Your Worship.
Thank you. Leah move submission to go to Waikato. If you want a person. Thank you, Andrew. And been seconded by Councillor Greenslade. So moved by Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Greenslade. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Right. 5.6, adoption of traffic bylaw for consultation. Mr. Andrew Wilson. Good afternoon, all you again.
Afternoon again, Your Worship and Councillors. I'll take the item as read. But as a brief overview, Taupō District Council has an existing traffic bylaw. This bylaw has been in place for some time, and it basically manages some of those primary effects around traffic movement and parking places, and allows us to continue to do so. Talking with the internal teams as well as some external stakeholders, there doesn't appear to be any issues with the existing bylaw in its current form. And so we are proposing that we continue the bylaw as it stands. But we want to consult with the community, given that it affects such a large number of people. And also we have an obligation under the Local Government Act.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, Andrew, just a question, actually. But as part of the bylaw, for example, point 9, a person may not stop, stand, park vehicle on their own in contravention of a prohibition, restriction or limitation made by council. So some yellow lines or something like that. I just had opportunity to seek some information about a certain portion of restriction on a bit of road around here. Do we have a decent record? Is there a decent record within the council to demonstrate that council put in, say, this section of broken yellow lines or something? Because I just go anecdote. Well, it's not anecdotal. I know that the old Taupō District Council had some sort of bylaw worded like similar to that, but they didn't have any record keeping whatsoever. So Joe Blow could go and mark his yellow lines out there, and no one knew any difference. So it's a question, record keeping.
What is the question? Sorry.
Record keeping in the
record keeping. The record keeping on yellow lines.
That would be a question for the traffic team, for our roading team, in terms of the records there. But I would imagine they know what's on the road.
And not only that,
I wouldn't assume.
we do have a committee that we take resolutions to be able to record those decisions. So I'm sure the councillors are well aware of the delegations of the Roading and Reserves Committee and those decision-making processes.
Your Worship,
Councillor Taylor.
I suspect Councillor Campbell, but it's called the Roading and Reserves Committee, a committee of which he is a member, and all such restrictions are put through by way of resolution and recorded and kept. I mean, it's been business for as long as I've been on council, a long time before that.
Any other questions of Mr. Wilson?
Well, we wish just to respond to that. I mean, I'm just going on my experience of working at various councils. Yes, that they have these committees with paperwork of a bit of broken lines on Lake Terrace, but I know you can't answer the question, but I'm just asking as to the veracity of the record keeping. That does someone have to dig into all the past meetings of the committee for the past 20 years to find that? But I mean, that's well, I mean, I'm going on past experience that I would not be assuming every council has absolutely diligent record keeping.
With respect, Your Worship, that has absolutely nothing to do with the agenda item in front of it. This is about a bylaw. The comments are to do with record keeping, and it's a question of relevance, which is contained well within the standing orders, and the comments are outside of that. I would respectfully request we move on.
Right, Andrew, anything else? No? Councillor Lachlan? Oh,
Move the recommendation.
Moved. Councillor Taylor.
We'll do that, and I've spoken to Andrew about this. Although the item we've got suggests we roll this over, and I appreciate that, and there is nothing fundamentally broken with the bylaw, we have in the meantime established a whole range of shared pathways. And if I look at section 7 of the bylaw, my request would be for council staff to align the definitions with statute law, both the Land Transport Act and the Land Transport Road Use Rule Act, so that the definitions we use align with what are commonly held definitions nationally. That would be my request.
That, Andrew.
More than happy. If that can be included in the resolution, we'll make sure those are aligned before it goes out for consultation.
All right, so I have a mover. Move. Amended. Moved by who was it moved? Councillor Lachlan, seconded by Councillor Park. And do you want amended? What words do we want there?
Definitions align with the relevant.
No, I don't believe that needs to be in the recommendation, because that would be something I'm assuming that staff would take on board anyway.
Okay. We'll minute that. Okay, be moved by Councillor Lachlan, seconded by Councillor Park. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you, Andrew. 5.7, Taupō District Council Performance Report, March 2024. Mrs. Julie Gardon.
Good afternoon, councillors. So we'll take the report as we normally do in several parts. The first one I'd just say is the introduction from me and the GMs. There's a strong theme here around long-term plan again. It is pleasing to see that we're coming to the end of all that work this Friday when we look at documents that we can then provide audit. What I would just note is at the beginning it does reference a couple of figures that we're looking through in terms of rates, and you'll see in the agenda for Friday those figures have adjusted, so they were a point in time, and we can talk through that on Friday. So if we take through the report in several parts, I'm just happy perhaps if we've got any questions for myself and the exec team, and then we'll move into the finance section.
Cool. Any questions of Julie and the exec team? No? Okay, finances. Oh, sorry, Councillor Greenslade.
Just reading the notes, Sharon. Oh, you're on.
Judge Judy. Oh, he's Judge Judy.
I've got it.
All right. Thank you very much, Councillor Greenslade. Oh,
Yes.
finances.
No,
Oh.
Really, I'm just gonna find my notes. I was just wondering on page 57, in connection with the sister cities, the planned visit from the Shuhao #1 middle school. You know how to say it, thank you. I just wondered if there was any opportunity for that school to come to Turangi, actually. To me, it's something that might be quite nice, because they're just visiting Taupo School. Or is it too late? Have they gone?
Sorry, just through the chair, they are a sister city school of St Patrick's School. They are not a sister city school of all Taupō District schools. So we actually visited there last year with gifts from the school, and they're really looking forward to returning the opportunity to visit St Patrick's in the next few months.
I wonder if we've got sister city schools in Turangi.
Vashi is your sister city, but we can talk about that offline.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's great.
Thank you. Good question, Councillor. Right, finances.
There's one more question.
Oh, sorry.
Page 60. I'm concerned about the licensing applications. Where can the public access who is applying for licenses these days, because newspapers are no longer our primary source of information?
Xander.
Through the chair, so every alcohol license application must be publicly notified. They do go out in the papers, but we also publish them on websites. I'm just checking which websites that might be. council website. Thank you. So there is notification out there.
Thank you very much.
Cool, thank you. Right. Thank you, Councillor Greenslade. Finances, Sarah. Greg or Jeanette?
Is Rudy.
Jeanette?
It's Aaron.
Aaron.
Who can get there the fastest?
Good afternoon, Aaron. Hi, Jeanette.
Yes.
Very good.
So way back.
No, that's all right. Sorry about that. Good afternoon, Aaron and Jeanette. Nice to see you. Floor is yours.
So we're here to talk about the financial summary. Aaron's going to talk to most of it. I'm just going to talk to the treasury part. From now on, Aaron's responsible for compiling this report, so you'll probably see more.
Very good.
Very good. We'll take the financials as read, however, I will give you a bit of a summary of the highlights. So revenue has been strong across the board, all the major revenue categories. Key items being favourable to forecast, which as a reminder is our annual plan plus any approved changes. We've got favourable variances against rates led by water by metre billing. Grant revenue has been strong due to the Turangi Curb and Channel funding. The development contribution revenue is favourable to forecast significantly, which is timing variance. Strong consent and solid waste revenues have driven favourable variances across our fees and charges category. Moving down into expenses. So operating expenditure is overall unfavourable to budget, primarily due to Freewater's maintenance contract and some realised losses across our share portfolio, which crystallised as we rebalanced the TEL fund. Moving across, so there were no further changes to the forecast. There were no other items that have been subsequently approved. The capital program remains behind our budget and our annual plan. It's probably the guts of it. Sorry, I went through that very quickly. I'll pass over to Jeanette. Oh, sorry. Are there any questions on the finances?
Any questions of Aaron? Capital projects, so you're saying we're running behind, that's pretty normality, is it?
I'm sure Panel will speak.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
In more detail.
Yeah. Oh, any questions of Aaron? Or Jeanette?
Right, in the treasury report, you'll notice that we have got two crosses. One of those was to do with strategic allocation, which we always knew was going to get a bit wobbly when we went to full-side bar, because we can't sort of control two things at once with not enough visibility. But the other one now that has gone into a cross is our investment maturity. This is mainly due to a couple of things. One, I think that a lot of we were being saved a little bit because the TEL money was out further. So the whole idea of the investment maturity is that you have your money sitting in a reasonable spread of buckets over a period of time. And so a lot of our TEL money was invested long term. And of course, we've been slowly maturing all of that, and now it's all gone. And so all our general funds money is quite short. And we've been keeping a little bit short just because we're a little bit unsure of what's happening with our capital expenditure. So we've basically we've got an explanation there at the bottom that we're currently holding more cash to cover forecasted increased CapEx spend prior to the end of the year. And we're also just a little bit mindful that we will need cash in the short term of the new financial year as well. So that's mainly, that's the reason behind that. Now we've actually added a resolution to the recommendations, which I'll ask Karen if you could bring it back up, because we just need you to approve that breach of our treasury management policy.
We were talking about this last time. We did note that there may be a couple of these come through, and it's a timing aspect in terms of when the amended policy comes through.
Just through the chair, I remember this being spoken about at length and given the timings, I completely am for it and understand.
Very good. No, I have a question to Jeanette. Councillor Westerman?
Just how long is temporary?
So we get more rates money in May, and so that will give us an opportunity possibly to put money further out in the spectrum. And I think too that we'll have a better handle on the capital expenditure as well. And you know, every week that goes by, we have a better idea of what things are going to happen, so we will be able to make better investment decisions to get it out. I will note though that the Treasury Management Policy that you have adopted for consultation has removed this requirement. So we don't have to put it into buckets and make sure we've got all these buckets filled up. It's more about making sure that you have money at the right time to pay your bills, which is a lot easier to manage and is more practical, instead of, you know, making sure that you put stuff in buckets.
Sarah, you wanted to add?
So the reason for the removal of the parameters in the updated Treasury Management Policy, which you approved for consultation, was because as the TL funds moved away, which is really where we see our long-term investment, what we're using our current investments for is that cash flow purposes. So you will see it a lot more short-term going forward. So it's a temporary breach really until we approve the new Treasury Management Policy, and I certainly would be an advocate of putting that those investments into long term, even when we receive the rates money, because we're going to need that again. So yeah, probably my answer would be it's temporary until the Treasury Management Policy is adopted. And as I did mention, we did bring up that the change to the TEL fund being externally managed would bring up a few of these issues, because the Treasury we try to manage under the old Treasury Management Policy.
Councillor Shepherd.
Presumably this sort of helped with the delayed rates, striking the rates a bit later as well. Does this help with cash flow during that time at all? Or do we just have to bridge the gap some other way?
Yeah, no, through the chair. Yes, the main reason for the change is that now we're just left with the pure short-term stuff to cover our cash flow. So it doesn't make any difference. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to put this into long-term. It would be because we'd have to lend more to then fund our short-term cash flow. So from a responsible and prudent financial management perspective, we're absolutely doing the right thing. It just happens to be a breach in the policy because we used to have our TL fund in there, and then we had long-term and short-term investments, but now it's all kind of short-term, which makes sense.
Thank you.
Councillor Lachlan.
I'm happy with the proposal, but I think having a date rather than the word temporary, even if you just keep conservative of how far you need it, might be a better resolution.
Could we suggest a renewal date for this in that case?
Yeah, through the chair, it does say until the amended policy is adopted, but and as part of the long-term plan, but happy to put in 30th of September 24.
Happy with that, Councillor Lachlan? Yep, cool. All right, thank you, Councillor Lachlan. We moved by Councillor Lachlan. Right on. That's financial. We've still got.
You want to do the movement?
Thank you very much, Jeanette and Aaron. For now.
Photo team.
Hello.
Are we all on this beautiful Tuesday? I'll take the significant projects report as read, but I just thought I would update you on the 4 in particular that have changed. On the 4 in particular that have changed, and good news is that they've changed for the positive. We can go into the answer to the question regarding the capital expenditure prediction for the last 3 months in a minute, but it'd just be good, I think, going from the back. I don't know if any of you like to read books sometimes from the back, but sometimes it's good just to not start with Drinking Water Standards New Zealand and go to the back of the book. The first one I'd like to update you on is Three Waters reform activities. All local waters done well. Obviously, cost has gone from amber to green. We're beginning to understand a little bit more, piece by piece, on the timelines of the new legislation. which means that with the transition funding, we've also had clarified what we're able to spend it on, and we're in a comfortable position there for the work that we're doing at the moment. The long-term plan, obviously red to amber, timeline's still tight, but back on track. There's no changes to Whangamata Road improvements, but I just wanted to give you an update there because obviously this is part of a multi-year project upgrading components of that very busy road. There was an engagement survey that was run largely through the Kinloch's Residents Association, and they had over 200 responses to the survey, which has informed a number of the design components. And there's been some priority given, obviously, to the parking that's near the stream entrance, and obviously the Whangamata Kinloch Road intersection. So it's expected there'll be a platform nearby that intersection to help provide a safe crossing point. And back to drinking water standards. So essentially we have Omori, Kinloch and Motuapa have or are in the process of being rebaselined. Now, I know we've talked about rebaselining before, but I just wanted to discuss it with you in a little bit more detail. So rebaselining sounds like a scary word, but essentially it's when a project manager works with a supplier or a customer to eliminate previously accumulated schedule variances. It's a tool that must be used wisely and very sparingly for that very reason. Variances to project execution obviously provide a lot of information and data to governance or to the project manager about how a project's doing and the health of the overall program. But when they are externally driven variances with things like geotech or in economic situations, COVID, for example, they can result in an extension of time request from the contractor. And in this case, Kinloch was that exact situation, which means that rather than saying that that project's going to be red, all for its complete life, it gets rebaselined from a time perspective so that you're essentially reporting on a newly agreed delivery timeline. That's it from me. Any questions?
Good. Councillor Greenside.
Thank you, Bishop. So if they've gone for a variation of the contract, what's the cost implications for council?
The extension of time doesn't always result in a variation in terms of the cost. I understand that for those three in particular, because they all use the same project manager, they all use the same, there is money set aside in the long-term plan for each of them, but there's also a bow wave expected to roll over into next year. So it doesn't always result in a cost implication.
It is, yes, good answer,
Councillor
but the
Shepherd.
costing around that then. So do we have set contracting costs based on the fact that they're all the same contractor, or is that a moving target as well as time goes on?
Well, I can provide more information on these three projects specifically after the meeting, but certainly where it came to the airport project, because we did have an extension of time due to the lockdown, it did result in a small cost increase to the overall, because there was a provision in the contract that allowed for essentially a standing rate where they're not working because they can't, but you are paying a small minimal fee for them to be on standby. But I'm certainly more than happy to provide an update on the costings associated with these three important projects.
And so the time delays on these, what's the cause of that? Is that because
geotech?
It is geotech.
Yeah,
so there's no
basically
fault. It's just, it is what it is. Yeah.
Through the chair, the Kinloch geotech kind of resulted in a bit of a domino effect.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I was going to just speak now on Delaney Park. Consent now for putting up the new lights.
Actually know if the consent's been granted for that. Happy to come back to you on that though. Yeah, I understand that there was the hold up with Unison, but I think that's been dealt with now.
Right, Councillor Campbell.
Oh yes, yeah, this is just in regards to the Northern Access investigation. I just note some of the commentary. You know, I mean, it seems to be that the steering group informed enough about the options analysis and confirms the preferred bridge options, which is what I'm reading, and that's what's going through to the LTP. But I'm not convinced myself that we're putting forward most affordable. I mean, we paid for a consultant to do some work, and we have seen glimpses of it, but the steering committee has not put any of the significant assumptions or finding to us in a comprehensible manner that I'm seeing. My profession is transport, so I believe I know what we should be expecting to see, and so I'm feeling a bit disturbed to just slip in 70 million into the LTP on the basis of what we've seen. One of the reasons I put my name forward to get elected was to address wasteful spending. And I will say, in my experience of transportation, that it is entirely possible to spend 70 million on something which results could have been achieved with a fraction of that. And to proceed as we are doing here seems to me to be pretty ad hoc, because like a building we don't want to fall down, it actually is quite complicated. I've only got a little bit left here. The significance of this to me is that I am doubting we are doing all we can to address the rates affordability question. And that's in terms of keeping a lid on the capital works program. And yes, it is mostly debt funded, and that's fine. I accept that from an accountancy point of view to spread the load over generations. But when I identify transport LTP line items, for example, that are 20 times higher than I think they need to be, as I have done, I believe I've done, and then I have to ask what sort of value for money is this debt going to be giving us? And this debt is very cheap now, but there's no guarantees that it will be in the future. And just to finish here, I believe that major decisions like this need to start happening from a first principles basis, i.e. first, does it need to happen at all? Second, what are we actually achieving? And third, asking serious questions if it can be done in a more economic way.
You have a question for now? Sorry. Did you, Councillor Taylor?
That's a nice question.
I'm not sure that's worth responding to, worship. Except to say no one's going to be spending $70 million in the next long-term plan. This is a placeholder, and all of the last 3 or 4 bullet points just mentioned is exactly what the steering group have been working through in detail. So I'll leave it there.
Just through the chair, I'm just really disappointed. We've just had to sit there and listen to a political statement, but I'd like to apologise to all the staff that are in the room, that is a opinion of a councillor and not the council table, because I certainly do not agree that you do not perform your jobs properly. I think you're all amazing. Thank you.
Any other questions for now?
Through the chair, if I can just mention.
No, I think we'll just shut it there at the moment. Councillor Campbell, that's okay.
If you would like an update on Orange Landing Park, I could provide.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. The structural design for the foundations, the lights is complete. The building consent for the poles is complete. Light pole manufacturing is complete, and the poles are en route on a ship to New Zealand. Floodlight manufacture is complete, and they'll be shipping early next week. And starting on the 6th of May onwards, we should start to see a bit of activity with fencing and fencing going up, digging out for the foundations and installation of the foundations. And I believe it should all be complete by the end of September. End of September for the lights. For the lights.
Daylight saving start.
Very good, Pernell. Lovely to see you. Nothing else to add?
Well, I would just, through the chair, mention, I know there was a question earlier regarding what's going to happen in the final 3 months. Well, we've actually got 2. But when the report was generated, obviously there was approximately 3 months left of the financial year. And all I can say is that obviously we're up to about 41. I'd expect that to be a few million more now. Last year we delivered around 56, and I can see here we've got our annual plan target of 58. Traditionally, we do have a bit of an uptick in spend in the last few months as a number of those large contract claims come through. I think we have seen, I think unprecedented is a big word, but we have seen a lot of delays this year in particular in regards to our ability to spend, and that's largely around environmental factors like geotech and probably to do with stakeholder engagement. We're doing a better job at that, but we possibly estimated at the very beginning, at the outset, when all these business cases were done some years ago in some cases, that was going to be a shorter job than it in fact has been. And I think that provides a better outcome for projects, but it doesn't look good in terms of your ability to spend fast. That would be the same.
Very good. Okay, thanks for now. No other questions of our CEO before we move the recommendation?
Happy to move.
Seconded by Councillor Lachlan and Councillor Taylor. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you very much, executive team. Right. 5.8, 204 Crown Road, declaration of land as surplus. Who have we got? We've got Mr. Hancock. Peter. Good afternoon, Peter. Welcome. Perfect. Thanks, Peter. Right. Just selling some land.
Yeah. Through the chair, yeah, just a quick update from the report. It's very much a procedural item under the Public Works Act. So in order to move forward with this 9.6 hectare block of land, we're looking at keeping 0.6 of a hectare for the wastewater seepage plant, and the rest of it proposing to subdivide into 18 sections for sale on the open market in due course. So yeah, it arises from a large block of purchase from land court farming around about 1999, something like close to 80 hectares. And this substantive part of this is what they call severance. It wasn't required for the East Taupō Arterial, and it's called severance, so but it's still subject to compliance with Public Works Act processes. Yeah, and that's the first step for council, is to decide whether it needs the land for any public work or not. And in this case, we're recommending that be declared surplus so that it can be subdivided.
Councillor Greenside.
Thank you, Peter. Can you tell me what's going to happen to the money that we get for this sale?
Yeah, so it's really where the strategic property reserve has been going for many years. So it's where all proceeds from land sales and land developments are ring fenced. So with any development like this, if there is any loan funding, because this is like a 4-year project, once the loans are repaid, surplus goes back in strategic property reserve.
So it doesn't just go into the general fund, it will be put aside for other property purchases or assets.
Probably can't comment.
So Taylor.
Thanks, Peter. I just want to comment the question. I support the method of operating that we have moved towards as a council on this and the EUL and other blocks of land relative to what has been done historically. And no criticism of previous councils, but this gives a far better return on investment and better stewardship of our assets to ratepayers and the Taupo community, adding value and getting more of a return for blocks of land. All of which, apart from minor exceptions around the globe, no more is being made.
Lachlan.
Just a comment, Your Worship. Yeah, I just wasn't 100% sure on the Māori engagement part. So you have a paragraph that says we want to do meaningful engagement with iwi, people who have ahika, etc., even if we don't have to do it. And then we're sort of saying, we just concluded though that no engagement was required. It just wasn't clear about, because I would have thought the tauhara hapu here, which we work with regularly, whether we, just to inform them what was happening with this land. I just would have thought that would have been something we do, even if it's just a courtesy as what's outlined here. So yeah, and I've seen a bit of a theme of that, you know, we just want to, we're saying we should have good relationships, even if it's just, you know, working with our neighbours and everything else. And then we kind of then conclude we don't need to do that. So that was the bit I was a bit uncertain around.
Peter?
Through the chair, I suppose this report is, it really just deals with the land actions and move forward, but certainly around the likes of the resource consent, we would be taking consultation with local hapu.
I think we can inform people Waihapu that this is an action that we're working our way through. So.
The only thing I saw it, Public Works Act always conjures up a bit of, you know, we grabbed it in the first place. We actually purchased and sale it off Landcorp, Lands and Survey, I think they were at the time. The purchase and sale agreement, you know, it wasn't. And we've disposed of a lot of land down there, but we've never mentioned the Public Works Act before. Is that correct? Why are we now mentioning the Public Works Act? Sorry, Peter, you might.
Yes, yeah, I think it's just we've it's the sort of the correct procedure with public land that it goes through a process just to tickle your boxes that you've made sure that it is not required for any further public work. So it's really much a procedural process and it's good practice. Yeah, so the other thing I'd probably say is that, you know, with Landcorp Farming was a state-owned enterprise. Yeah, and there's on the title for all that land is a state-owned enterprise memorial clause, you know, which provides for the like Treaty Waitangi settlement provisions. Yeah, so which is common through all the land. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I just haven't recorded any of that all those other disposals out there. You know, probably rocking whatever you haven't come through this process, but anyway, confident that we're doing it right. Councillor Westman.
I just query that land can be quite renowned for being quite thermal and geothermal. What sort of extensive testing have we done to ensure that it's okay to pop it on the market?
Yes, you're probably not that qualified to the nitty-gritty of that part, but there's certainly a lot of investigation work. Yeah, and we've had the first part was getting an agreement with Contact Energy to over their subsurface rights. Yeah.
Chris.
Afternoon. Through the chair. So extensive geotech sampling has been done as part of the engineering design for the earthworks and civil consent. So currently we're looking to get that resource consent through the system now. And if there's any issues that pop up, i.e. around geothermal activity and things like that, that'll be identified through that consenting process.
And we're declaring it for sale also.
What's that, Sarah?
Preparing for sale, not selling it.
Preparing for sale. Preparing. Getting prepared. I just recall back to when Ashwood Park was first done. It was a very lengthy process of getting that consent done. So obviously you guys will know all about that. But anyway, questions?
I've got a question.
Yes, Councillor Loughlin.
Curiosity one. So if it's a public work, could Kainga Water come along and say we might want that land for housing? Just curious, just in terms of as a public work, whether that kick in or not.
Is that a possibility, Peter? Oh, Chris?
Through the chair, it's commercial land, so not residential.
That'd be the zone change.
That's true.
Yeah. So could they come as a school on commercial land? No.
I could add to that is sometimes that can happen where council hasn't got a use for the land they want to dispose of. There is provision where they can offer it to another public agency, but this is not the case here. The council's very clearly identified that we're going on this path to subdivide the land.
Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, just through the chair, just clarify that strip down there. This is like a recently built cycle path. That when I see a corridor there, I mean that little cycle path is outside this bit of land, is it not?
Just to clarify, there's actually 5 titles involved. and there's down Jason alongside Crown Road, there's actually two of the titles of a very narrow strip, and that's probably looking at that.
Yeah, so that's probably not that cycle path that council built.
You're talking State Highway 1.
Yeah, but between State Highway 1 and Crown Road, it sort of
Crown,
ducks off. It's about the angle of the bottom left little corridor, actually.
Through the chair, no, we don't, it won't be affected.
No, yeah, just to ask.
Okay, any other questions? The method of sale, once, are we doing these once we've got the consent, or what's the disposal? Is that a different item coming through? How do we do that, Sarah?
So today you're really just declaring the land
Yeah.
surplus, which enables us to move forward through the process. So we're not quite at that stage.
Okay.
So there will be a whole range of steps to come.
Okay, and we'll be.
I'm
we'll
thinking
see
that's
that
what
again.
Sarah was going to say.
The long-term plan budgets include the development of this land. Obviously, we don't have that budget yet, so we can't develop it to put on the market, but we just declare it as surplus and building. Just
Okay, so we'll get to see that. Right. No other questions? Mitchell, you want to buy it? Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. So the recommendation is there, correct? Surplus to public works. Yep, boom, boom, boom. All the numbers right there, gentlemen. Did I have a mover? Oh, thank you, Rachel. Seconded by, moved by Councillor Shepherd, seconded by Councillor Campbell. Thank you, Duncan. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you, gentlemen. Right, moving on in. We have council engagements, May 2024, appointments and training and conference opportunities. Oh, actually, we're going to talk about local government conference. Next agenda.
This is the next agenda
Yeah.
item. Yeah.
Councillor Greenslade.
Thank you, Richard. I'd just like to bring the public's attention to the fact that the Mototiri Reserve Management Committee is meeting on Thursday, the 2nd May, in the council chamber at 5:30 to 7 p.m. So that members of the public and other interested parties might like to join. This is the first time we've met up here, isn't it? Yes, it is.
No.
It's the second time, yes. But we are moving around the district so that people can actually take notice in what's happening.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Greenslade. Councillor Park.
Yes, Your Worship, for selfish reasons, I was just wondering, the meeting on the 31st of May to be moved to the Tuesday and added on to the council meeting, or is that just restricted by time with the auditor's office?
I think it's my colleagues.
And I completely understand that is very selfish that I'm asking.
What night? Sorry, was it?
Yeah, so sorry. First year audit are starting here on Monday, and obviously we aren't getting an audit opinion on our consultation document, but the best chance to reduce the risk of our final document having issues is to allow audit to have the longest time possible. And their feedback was that they definitely needed that extra day. So yeah, so I get it. But yeah, unfortunately, we're just trying to get it to them as soon as possible.
Thanks, Sarah, I understand.
Thank you, Councillor Park. Any other questions, queries? Those dates all locked and loaded? You have a mover, please? Councillor Williamson, seconded by Councillor Shepherd. All those in favour, please say aye. All right. Portfolio. Christine, anything from you, economic and business?
Sorry, Dave.
Okay, thanks. Sporting.
Just jumping down, I need to go short. I if I could just jump in now.
How do the other councillors feel about that? What's your view?
I'll wait for the advice.
No, fire ahead, Councillor Taylor.
The only unfinished report is in relation to Regional Transport Committee. We've held deliberations on the Regional Transport Plan, and so we've held hearings. Deliberations are yet to occur.
And I was pleased to receive in personal online submission from Turangi in relation to State Highway 1. So we're still well and truly on the radar. My apologies for remaining in the meeting. I have another engagement.
You nominate someone to do the closing study here. Okay, Sport and Rec, Councillor Shepherd.
Yeah, so I attended the Sports Advisory Council meeting to distribute the community sports grants. So we had $20,000 to distribute, and we had requests totaling 136,000. So again, that was a tough meeting, and a few people were probably a bit disappointed, but others are very, very happy to receive some funding. And I wonder if I might just jump ahead while I've got the floor to community services, which again is another grant allocation meeting for Wairoa Trust for social services. And again, very heavily subscribed, 186,000 requested with only 50,000 to give. So yeah, tough couple of days at the office there, but pleased to be able to help a few groups out.
Yeah. When you say only 50,000, it's directly from our ratepayers, like it's still quite a bit of money.
It is considerable, isn't it? But when you're faced with a request of 186,000, you want to help as many people as you can out in the social services area. It's a tough thing to do, to say sorry, no, or here's a little bit for you. We hope it helps.
Cool. Thanks, Rachel. Right, Karam. Got it, Karam. Are you still there? Youth and Technology Agent. Youth and Technology.
Yeah, kia ora tātou. Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of things from me personally. I had the privilege of doing some civics education with our rangatahi, getting them up to play with what it is we do with council, and it was great to actually come to some schools, not only in the Taupō region, but also connecting with the Turangi Rangatahi Hub and running some civics education in that space. So keeping our rangatahi well informed with what it is we do and why council mahi is so important, and a part of these civics duties as participants in our democracy. So yeah, awesome kaupapa and awesome to be a part of that. Also just wanted to congratulate Charlene Holt, the new principal at Tongariro School. She was welcomed onto Hirangi Marae just yesterday. She begins her official term this term as the official principal of Tongariro School. A lot of mahi ahead of her, but I thought it was really awesome that, i whai te whakaaro Māori, following in Māori whakaaro, and that she felt it important to connect with mana whenua and to let her know that, she'll be the new principal. And I guess in some instances seeking some support from mana whenua as well. I thought that was really cool and a nice way, I think, to start her tenure as the new principal at Tongariro School. Also being the portfolio holder for technology as well, I just wanted to remind our whānau and friends about Tech Week. Thanks to Amplify, Tech Week 2024 kicks off on the 20th to the 26th of May. They've got a whole host of amazing technological based kaupapa that you can connect into. So my suggestion is get in there, get amongst it, and upskill in that space. Obviously, technology continues to move forward, and I think it's important that we as a community move forward with that technology as well, and keep that in mind. So some great presentations held again between the dates of the 20th and the 26th of May here in Taupō for 2024. But that's just me. Kia ora tātou.
Kia ora. Thanks, Karen. John, Arts and Culture. Councillor Williamson.
Yes, beginning of the month, I joined a Zoom meeting with representatives from Creative Waikato on the threats of Creative Taupō and Steve Giles and Louisa Haynes, working towards a collaborative approach to promote the actual Creative Taupō in the region. So quite productive to working forward. So that's work in progress. Also, Creative Taupō has the grants allocation meeting. Once again, as usual, as Rachel will be always heavily subscribed. That went very well. Also, a week or two ago, the museum, District Council, and the museum, two moves at the Great Lakes Centre night at the museum to promote the actual museum as well. So that went off very well. So thank you to staff from the District Council and the museum as well. Also, there was also representatives from the now defunct Friends of the Museum running the sausage system to raise some funds towards the museum as well, so.
Good.
See this sort of activity there as well. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Williamson. Councillor Lachlan, Environment and Climate.
Your worship, I was able to make the last strategic session with greeting Taupō because I had a conflict with my calendar, which I think was a council meeting. But the otherwise, I had Jennifer Nicol from the regional council reach out to me to talk about what we were doing in this environment space. She's on the committee on regional council, and I was doing some work over in Hamilton. Was able to attend their after hours environmental drinks sort of things that they host down at the bar there, and yeah, got to meet some interesting people. But that's all I've got to report on.
Right. Thank you, Councillor Lachlan. Anna, Councillor Park, Emergency Management.
Thank you, Your Worship. As mentioned previously, Steve Giles has been approved by the group and joint committee as a local controller. We have got an Taupō District Emergency Management Committee coming up on the Monday, the 13th of May, and we have staff running a civil defence emergency management exercise on Friday, the 10th of May, which will all be good to learn what we don't know and to make some processes more efficient and see how we deal with different situations. I also attended the integrated intermediate training, and there was a vast amount of Taupō District Council staff in the room. It was an awesome couple of days, and we've got some amazing untapped talent, which I know Paula and Hayley will be onto pretty quickly, I would say. So thank you, Julie, for allowing me to attend that operational couple of days. I definitely had nose in, fingers out, and then enjoyed it immensely. We've hosted a couple of international groups lately, one being from Shouting. We had a meeting with them, which was led by the Deputy Mayor, and then went to have dinner. They invited us to Shouting, but it would have been happening next week. So of course it was not going to happen, even though it was fully funded. It is definitely not the time or the place when we're heading for a rate increase to send a message like that to our public, and something that we weren't interested in. We also yesterday with the Deputy Mayor and community engagement and development staff, we hosted the Korean National Disaster Association, which was a group of about 40 Korean professionals that came from all over different parts of South Korea. And so that was really interesting, and they asked a lot of great questions, and it was great to have Nico here from GNS because they were very interested in our volcanoes and eruptions. So yeah, it's been a quietish month, but there's been a lot of cool things progressing.
Great. Right. You, Yvonne, Acacia Bay residents.
They have their normal monthly meeting, which is pretty regular. Same things on the agenda, but they'll get to the bottom of those. Great to have Rachel on board, as we've talked about before, stepping into the Wairua role. Together, did grant allocation last night with the full team, which was wonderful, and some good outcomes on that. And on the 11th of April, attended the kids screening Taupō strategic session, which again was very well attended, and some good outcomes from there too.
Oh, sorry. Your Worship, just Yvonne's Councillor Westerman's just reminded me on behalf of Kirsty, who's not with us today, just to mention that Mangakino-Pouakani Rep Group, which Councillor Westerman and I both sit on. Again, there was a community funding round, and far really over prescribed, I should say, but we managed to probably divvy it up as well as we could for everyone to get a bite at the cherry, so to speak, and it is a little like cherry. Also, there's probably a conversation that Yvonne and I could probably proactively start having with Warwick before Kirsty gets back around the RSA and some issues that they're having in Mangakino, but we can talk to Warwick about that offline. But can I just also mention, on your behalf, I sit on the Legacy and Leverage Committee for the Supercars, and what an awesome event. And I think that every single councillor, every single management exec, every single staff member whether it was mowing, whether it was clearing traffic lines off roads for accessibility, everyone from a Taupō District perspective, as a stakeholder in an event which is not ours, deserves a huge clap on the back. It was absolutely amazing. We had 4 seasons in 2 days and everyone just pulled it off brilliantly, and Supercars are stoked, so we couldn't ask for better.
Right. Anything else, Yvonne?
That's
Right, all good. Right. Any other updates? And Duncan, first and Sandra.
Through the chair, you just second about the V8s. I still think a local speedway would be the go. So it's put in the hand up.
cut rates.
Speed rink, skate rink, skating.
Both. Yeah, both. Yeah. Speedway fit. 2 things. Anzac Day, I think was particularly stirring, especially I went to the 6 a.m. at Taupō Centennial, especially the young Māori troopers' commentary and mention of past soldiers' sacrifice and what it was actually for. And also the need, I'm not sure if he was mentioning that, but one of the speakers, the need for healing of divisions in this land. I personally believe that for any meaningful reconciliation to occur between 2 parties on any issue, and we do have a few in this country, the first has to be an acknowledgement of wrongdoings, and until that ever happens, we will all just be muddling along in various states of strife. And the second thing, I attended the Climate Commission meeting last week there in town. It was held in regard to setting renewed targets with submissions due by the end of the month, if anyone's interested. And also attended by Councillors Lachlan and Leonard. I bet not many people realise that we have a very eminently qualified climate scientist in town by the name of he might be a Dr. Dick Rennie, who gave quite an eloquent speech at the end where he basically expressed his horror at the government overreaction to, in his words, a non-existent climate emergency, or at very least in terms of what we can realistically do about it. I myself have invested some time and intellect in this subject over the years, and I had to agree with Dick's point of view. In my own words, these 2050 net zero ambitions are a terrifyingly enormous investment in futility, and no wonder many young people are concluding that the future is hopeless. This current New Zealand commitment is an estimated half trillion dollars in the next 25 years towards reducing the temperature of the planet by a fraction of a degree, but that's New Zealand's contribution apparently.
Sorry, just through the chair, this is meant to be about portfolio updates, not political statements, because we could all make them on different topics. Right?
Just about to round it up, but Duncan and also Sandra don't have portfolios as
well, I mean, I've attended a climate commission meeting, so so that half trillion is expected from us, and even if the rest of the industrial world gets on board, which they are not, there are absolutely no assurances that we'll do anything at all. Councillor Lent, to finish, Councillor Lent express the difficulty of farmers accessing capital or even market share if they do not go along with net zero requirements. However, it should be noted that these net zero ambitions are increasingly being recognised as crippling to economies overseas. And for one example, the Scottish Parliament have very recently shrugged them off. So one suggestion that came out of that after the meeting actually is that New Zealand farmers could start thinking about getting their finance overseas, offshore, before going along with any of that.
Thank you. Councillor Greenstein.
Thank you, Richard. Turangi, as usual, is already very busy, lots of stuff happening down there. I've met with a lot of people in this district over the last month with all sorts of different things, catching up with me, asking questions, getting advice where to go. I recommend the staff and being hugely accessible and helpful to local people. It makes a huge difference and get somebody, get an answer and come back. So just thank all the staff, and they know who they are. The Tongariro representative group had a hui and a meeting with Taupo-Kaingaroa last week. They welcomed us on the marae, and it was a hugely important moment for the representative group to be able to go out into the marae like that and to be able to meet with the local people. And that's a split who did come along. We had one family came along with their children. It was obviously school holidays. They heard about us. They sat at the back, and the mum and the dad sat there and nodded their heads. You could see smiling when they were talking, and you get that sort of feedback, just when you're in a hurry like that. It's really important. So thank you very much to the Roshika Marae. Anzac Day, of course, in Turangi is big, the Waihi Dawn service. According to the organisers, the most well attended that they've ever had. The new president of the RSA in Turangi is Grant Smith, and he conducted a beautiful civic ceremony at 11 o'clock. Just want to note, in addition, with Councillor Fletcher, that Turangi after 5 are holding their monthly meeting at Tūwharatau FM on Friday at 6 o'clock. It's all about the digital platform and what they're doing. So, on the other thing, I just want to thank the community. The events group in Turangi is newly created, decorated the roundabout with poppies and made the place look great. And I had a lovely time at the supercars. I think I'll go next year too.
You look like
was great.
a couple of groupies here. Yeah,
I know.
You're very much enjoying it.
It was fantastic. Yeah. So great, absolutely great month. Lots of things happening.
Cool. Thanks, Sandra. Okay. Sorry, John.
Acknowledgements. We want to acknowledge, we missed to not acknowledge Rachel Shepherd on that strategic workshop as well.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out. And also want to acknowledge the 14-year-old girl, Shannon Harrington's daughter, that spoke at delivered the essay, the RSA service on.
Yeah.
Your
sister, yeah.
Sister, yeah. On behalf of brother Flynn.
Yeah.
The parents, the teachers at Tara College. So
that's
actually very impressive. I see.
Yeah.
I would say.
Excellent. Excellent. Very good. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Resolution move. Oh, I've got. You want to hear? Okay. Yeah, for the month, was that obviously the Miraka field day, or Waraka Moana field days. Myself and Councillor Westman attended. Veteran table tennis tournament. Muri Kuratau Charitable Trust Easter Market, fantastic. That was a bit windy. Teddy Bear's picnic. The farmers market and the repair cafe. That repair cafe, you might have been in the scene on TV. You know, the guy on TV that does it. He looked exactly the same as the guy on TV. Bloody good. What's his name? Julian?
Julian.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. I had a meeting with him this morning, actually. Combined sector meeting in Wellington with Julie. Very successful, although where'd you end up, Dunedin or something?
Driving,
yeah. Poor Julie got 2 in the morning, yeah. Permapine 20-year celebration. Fantastic little Taupō company. We're not that small anymore, but their latest export is 400 poles to the Maldives for underwater breweries, from a Taupō company. Just fantastic. And I was very honoured to be one of their guests, along with Sir Buck Shelford. Taupō 60s Up Club, which is meeting at the bowling club. I was guest speaker there. Supercars, we know. The Tauwhiri, the Tractor Town event was this blow you away stuff. The amount of coverage they got, and the kids that weren't necessarily accessible to motorsports over the weekend. They got to see them and the heroes. And then of course encapsulated with Greening Taupō Day, where the drivers came and planted trees. Every driver that I talked to said they just wish they'd had another few days here. So Anzac Day, very kindly got hosted down at Waihi Village, which is just a special part of the Paramount Chief. And of course the civic ceremony in town here. Did anyone go to the civic ceremony? John, didn't it? Yeah. It was pretty well attended. I wouldn't say it was huge, but it was sort of attended. So some thoughts around the civic. Do we need a civic one? Do we need a dawn one and a civic one? I think it's quite good having the two, but yeah, obviously the costs involved and all that sort of thing. But we will have a debrief on that. And yeah, that's about the main highlights. So you go. Thank you very much. All right. No other reports? Over mover, please. Thank you. Yvonne, seconded by Duncan. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Move into confidence now.